responding and versus reacting to comments and your questions. So I like this example of when simplicity is best in a response. And if you've noticed, watch when something blows up in the media, because I love watching this. When something blows up and there is a really solid response and then you never hear about it again, versus when somebody hides behind the camera or they don't answer and then the media goes at them, and then it becomes a much bigger issue. So this was a really interesting incident that happened in our community at our high school. There was a huge fight between Central Bucks West and a non-high school club team at Ridley. I want to be clear that this was a non-high school team. And there were allegations that it was a premeditated. It put our top ice hockey player in the hospital. Head injuries. It was bad. My daughter came running home. It was just, the whole entire community was up in arms. It was a very violent fight. And this was, I think, last March. But the Ridley Hockey Club president said the following. The Ridley hockey program views the actions of some of our players in the hockey game against Central Bucks West last night as indefensible. We are disgusted and appalled with the decisions of our players and in no way condone their actions. It goes on. We didn't hear about the story the next day. It was super egregious. It was super violent. And as a parent, it was very upsetting. And yet, we didn't hear about it the next day. Why? Because they made a statement. I can guarantee you, if they had lawyers involved, the lawyers didn't want them to say this. But it went away. The press stopped. And that's really important when you have an issue, a reputation management issue, and you want to stop it in its tracks. How do you feel if you see somebody running up courtroom steps saying no comment, hiding the face of the accused? Tell me, how do you feel? What do you feel about that person? Guilty. They're lying. Right? They made a statement here. Look, we take responsibility for this. This is not what we would expect of our players, and they are going to be disciplined. However, a lot of people say, is it better to remain silent? And I give you that example because I worked in criminal law of the people running up the courtroom steps, hiding their faces. Because that's really the first thing you think is they have something to hide, right? It's the first thing you're going to think. And I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin: as we must account for every idle word, so must we account for every idle silence. When you are quiet on an issue, people will make assumptions. And I'm not going to say the quote about what happens when you make assumptions. You all know it. So there are some alternatives, and this is the type of thing you can put in your social media policy. These are the types of things you can put in your rapid response policy, your crisis management. We are aware of the situation and are working to gather the facts. We will share verified information publicly when we are able. Truth is, you may never be able to share verified public information publicly. But you have made a statement. It's a statement that says nothing. I get it. But you've said something. You're not hiding behind the no comment. These are the types of things you want to have in that arsenal so you don't have to go up the chain to get approval when you need something immediate. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. We invite you to attend our public meeting to express your opinion to council. Oh, people love that. Well, I don't have time to come to council. You have time to be on social media, right? But you've responded to them because people just want to know that they were heard most of the time. And believe me, all of the town hall meetings, we always know the one or two people who are going to show up. We know what they're going to say, and we know how to deal with them. And we give them their time. Let them say it. Because the majority of the people in the room can't wait for them to be quiet and sit down. I almost said shut up, but we don't say that in my house. We appreciate your feedback. Hearing from our constituents is important to us. We invite you to share any further thoughts in a follow-up letter or email. Put it in writing. So these are some interesting things that you can have, and I think these are really important types of statements because you're not always going to have time to go up the chain and get approval on something that needs to be posted publicly. And then there's those times when you want to put on a full court press because it's positive. Bristol Borough, anybody from Bristol here? They did a fabulous job at doing this small business revolution last year. It was so much fun. This is a hashtag, My Bristol Municipality. They used this to get the community engaged, to get them talking about voting, to get them involved. Out of 14,000 nationwide municipalities were in this contest for a $500,000 revitalization and marketing prize offered by Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec. So I mean, think about it, $500,000 because they engaged. It's a lot of money. You know, and then there was press coverage. And they were able to do all of this, get everyone involved. They won this $500,000 prize, and I have not gone back to see what they've done in terms of implementing it and following up, but that's something I'm going to be doing. And I did mention to you Hootsuite and CoSchedule. Buffer.com is another tool for managing social media. It's not one that I have used. I did use Hootsuite for a long time. CoSchedule is less expensive and more efficient, so that's the one I've chosen for all of our clients. And the other thing is, if you do work with an agency, a web company, anybody who's going to manage your digital platforms, make sure you own all of the platforms. In other words, have your own CoSchedule set up, not theirs. Make sure your website is owned by the municipality and you have all the passwords, your Google Analytics, all of those things. Again, I mentioned that with your social media sites. These are your platforms. You don't want to be beholden to a company like mine or anyone else's. You want to own all of those things. And I think that's very important. So for example, when we set up CoSchedule for a client, we set it up with their social media email address, the one that they never had, but I had them create, and their contact information. Because when they are no longer working with us, it needs to be easy for them to continue to manage their platforms. You don't want any barriers to future success, so we always need to be looking forward. And with that, I'm going to release you to questions, and I hope I'll be able to answer them. We have about 8 minutes left. Yes?
I got a couple questions. One, can you speak a little more about, I mean, the focus here was the municipal-owned social media accounts, but those that are government officials or management of the entity and commenting on government business on personal accounts and that gray area there.
So the question is, can I talk a little bit more about the gray area between the municipal-owned platforms and the elected officials who have their own, or anyone else who have their own profiles, and that gray area? I can. It's a matter of education, and it's a matter of people understanding that while they have a First Amendment right to share what they want to share, they need to do it in a careful way. They are, anybody here a member of a fraternity or sorority when they went to college? Come on, don't be shy. Okay, so I remember when I pledged Delta Zeta. If anybody had Delta Zeta in the room? When I pledged Delta Zeta, we were told, never go to a fraternity party wearing your letters. Letters were the D and the Z, right? I'm like, that's ridiculous. I want people to know that I'm affiliated with this group. I love this group. I love the philanthropy that we do. Why would they tell us not to wear letters? Anybody have their parents say, They're going to ask where your parents are. Or if you go out dressed like that, because they're going to ask where your mother is. Or have you said it? Or your father? Or if you do that. You're representing an entity. And it's like we were educated with some of the policies that we represented this entity, this greater thing than just us. We need to educate everyone who works within our organizations that there are certain things that they should do and certain things that they shouldn't. Now, can you always slap their hand? No. Can you monitor all of it? No. You can't. I mean, that's the gray area. The gray area is we can't force everybody to do the right thing. However, we can educate them, and education is the most important step. For anybody who has children in the room, we know we teach our kids or I hope we teach our kids from a very young age to make the right choices about substances. If they go to the doctor because they've had a sports injury, ask if that medication is addictive. That's what we need to do today. It's no different. We educate our families. We take time to do that. We educate one another. But we need to educate the people who work for us and for the public, who serve the public, as best we can. And I think that's really the gray area. It's just as best we can. At least we can sleep better at night. Because then when you have that incident that goes out of control, the fireman who posts something so egregious, or the mayor who goes off the rocker, as you will. Trying to light it up. You've at least given them the policies. You know, my husband, who works in sales, and I'm going to end on this, he always said in training, he does a lot of training, give people the rules and tools for success. Everybody can succeed if they choose to follow the rules and use the tools. But if you don't give them to them, if you don't teach them, do not expect them to succeed. So that gray area is about giving people the rules and the tools for success, the way your organizations define it. With that, I can take about one more question. Okay, bet you're all ready for your next coffee. Thank you.